Welcome to The Explainer. All right, let's talk about AI. Ever feel like you're just not getting the results you want? You know, that feeling that it could be doing more? Well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to take this buzzword, prompt engineering, and turn it into a real skill you can start using right away. Let's dive in.
You know that feeling, right? You've used ChatGPT, you ask it a question, and what you get back is, well, it's fine, it's okay, but it's not great. There's this huge gap between a totally forgettable answer and one that's genuinely useful. That's the gap we're going to close today.
So, we're all kind of past the, wow, this is interesting phase of AI, aren't we? The real power, the real magic, happens when you can make it consistently useful. And that shift, it happens the moment you stop just having a casual chat and start giving it really clear, really powerful instructions. And look, the promise of this explainer is actually pretty simple. By the time we're done here, we are going to transform this kind of interesting tech into a tool that is genuinely useful for you, whether it's for work, for your studies, or whatever you need. Okay, so what is this thing, prompt engineering? Let's just cut through all the jargon. In plain English, it's the skill of asking better questions to get better answers. That's really it. It's all about structured communication, but for an AI. All right, let's dig into the big problem. Why do so many AI results feel so meh, so average? And more importantly, what can we do to fix that, starting right now? Here's what happens all the time. A lot of us type in a super vague request, get a pretty generic answer back, and then we think, I guess this tool isn't that great. But that's not it. The tool is incredibly powerful. The problem is the prompt. That's your steering wheel. And if you give it weak directions, you're going to end up with weak results. It's that simple. So what does a better steering system actually get you? Well, it's not just one thing. It's about getting answers that are way clearer, way more relevant, and structured exactly how you need them. It's the huge difference between a one-size-fits-all generic answer and a solution that feels like it was tailor-made just for you. Okay, get ready, because this next part, this is the single most important mindset shift you need to make if you really want to get good at this. I love this slide because it just nails the myth versus the reality. So many people think prompting is like some secret technical code you have to learn. It's not. It's just about designing better instructions. Think about it. You're just communicating what you need with the same kind of clarity you'd use with a really smart human assistant. And this right here, this quote just hammers that point home. Better prompts are not magic, they are better instructions. That's the whole game. Your most powerful tools aren't some fancy tricks, they're just clarity and being specific. Okay, so we've got the mindset down. Now let's get practical. Let's look at the actual framework and see how we can build this into a method you can use over and over again. Turns out you can break down pretty much any great prompt into 5 key parts. Just 5. And mastering these 5 building blocks, that's the real key to getting amazing results time after time. First up, we have role. This is super straightforward. You're just telling the AI who to be. Are you talking to a teacher, a copy editor, a data analyst, maybe a marketing expert? This one simple thing sets the entire tone and the perspective for the answer. And just look at the difference it makes. If you say, act like an expert, what does that even mean? It's so vague. But if you say, act as a beginner-friendly teacher explaining this to university students, boom, the AI has a clear persona, and the answer you get back is instantly so much more targeted and useful. All right, next element, the task. This is all about the action verb. What do you actually want the AI to do? Are you asking it to explain something, to summarize a text, maybe compare 2 ideas, or brainstorm a list? The more precise your verb, the better. And the difference here is night and day. A weak task like tell me about prompts, that's just asking for a long, rambling, generic essay. But a strong task, something like explain prompt engineering for beginners and end with 3 practical tips. See? It's direct. It's clear. You know exactly what a good answer should look like. Okay, element number 3, context. This one is huge. I like to think of it as the ultimate filter against generic junk. Context tells the AI why you're asking. Who is this for?
What's your goal? What's the situation? This is how you get an answer that's not just correct, but actually fits your specific purpose. And then we have constraints. These are your guardrails. They keep the AI on the right road. You can tell it what to include, or just as important, what to leave out. You can set the tone, the word count. You can even tell it to avoid certain words or jargon. You're in control. And last but not least, the output format. This is so simple but so powerful. Think about it. A huge wall of text is hard to use, but asking for that same information as a table or a bulleted list or a checklist, it can make the answer 1,000 times more useful and easier to digest. Okay, so we've got the 5 pieces. Now for the fun part. Let's put them all together into one simple, reusable formula that you can literally use every single time you write a prompt.
So here it is. By thinking through these 5 elements, role, task, context, constraints, and output, you've got yourself a clean, repeatable mental model for getting better results. It's not a mystery anymore. It's a process.
Okay, so watch this. We're going to see this in action. We start with a super weak prompt. Tell me about prompt engineering. Kind of useless, right? Now let's add a role. Act as a senior AI educator. Better. Now the task. Explain the core mechanics. Then we layer on the context for who this is for. We add constraints about tone and length. And finally, the output format. See that? We just went from a vague question to a master-level instruction, step by step. It's a total transformation.
And just like that, you have the steering wheel. It's in your hands now. You've gone from treating AI like some kind of weird black box to actually operating it with clear, structured instructions. This is the skill. This is what it's all about.
So, you've got the blueprint. The foundation is solid. But what can you build with it? Well, in part 2, we're going to take this exact formula and apply it to a bunch of real-world examples. For school, for your job, for creating content. You have the tools now. Next time, we start building. We'll see you then.
All right, welcome to part 2. In part 1, we laid all the groundwork. Now it's time to get practical. We're going to take your basic AI requests and turn them into genuinely valuable assets. You're about to see just how tiny, simple changes to your prompts can create massive improvements in quality.
Okay, let's just get right into the core problem because we've all been there. You ask the AI for something and you get back, well, something kinda generic, average, uninspired. This is it right here. A vague request will almost always get you a vague, uninspired output. The secret is that giving clear direction is what turns that into something truly high value. So let's kick things off with our first section, from vague to valuable. We're going to break down exactly how small, deliberate changes can create really dramatic improvements in what the AI gives back to you.
Now, this visualizes the journey perfectly. Look at that weak prompt. Tell me about prompt engineering. It's just so vague. The better prompt, well, it's better. It adds an audience and a tone. Explain prompt engineering for beginners in simple English. Okay, we're getting somewhere. But the strong prompt, that's where the magic really happens. You give it a persona, act like a friendly teacher, you specify a structure, give me examples and a checklist, and you tell it the format. That is the leap from just getting information to getting a useful, structured, ready-to-use asset.
And that really is the main takeaway here. It's not about writing these massive, complicated prompts. It's about making small, smart adjustments, adding an audience, a tone, a format that deliver a huge payoff in the end.
So how do you actually do this consistently? Well, before you hit send on your next prompt, just pause for a second and ask yourself these 3 simple questions. First, what's missing here? Did I leave out some key context? Second, what is unclear? Am I using fuzzy words? Is the audience not defined? And third, what output format would actually be the most useful? A table? A checklist? A simple paragraph? This little pre-flight check helps you spot weaknesses before they become a real problem.
Okay, so we've got the single strong prompt down. Time to level up. In our next section, we're going to look at advanced prompting workflows. This is where we move beyond just asking single questions and start designing entire AI-powered processes. To really get this next part, you have to internalize this one idea. Prompting works best as a process, not a one-shot event.
This is honestly the biggest difference between an amateur and a pro. A pro knows that first answer is almost never the final one. It's just the start of the conversation.
And this right here shows you that process in action, the iterative prompting loop. You ask, you review what you get, you refine your request, you compare the results, and you just repeat. This isn't a sign that you failed. It's actually the mark of an expert user. It's how you turn a messy first draft into a polished final product.
Now for another really powerful workflow, prompt chaining. So instead of trying to jam a huge, complex task into one monster prompt, you break it down into smaller, much more manageable steps. So first, you clarify the goal. Then you generate an outline. After that, you draft the content. Then you can use a totally separate prompt just to improve the tone. And finally, one last prompt to format the output. See? Each step is cleaner and gives you so much more control.
Okay, theory is great, but let's talk about real-world value. In this section, Prompting in the Real World, we're going to look at some high-impact examples for your studies, your job, and any creative projects you've got. This is how you can start applying these skills like today. For any students watching, this is an absolute game changer. Instead of just Googling a definition, you can ask the AI to explain Hooke's law in simple English for a first-year engineering student. You can feed it your own notes and say, create 10 revision questions from this. Or have it compare mitosis and meiosis in a 2-column table. The point is, you're not just getting answers. You're basically creating an intelligent study partner that helps you understand things better and revise way faster.
Okay, now for the workplace. You know, the biggest enemy at work is often just that blank page. Well, prompting is incredible for getting over that hump. You can ask it to draft a concise follow-up email after a client call and even specify a professional yet warm tone. You can get a quick outline for a report or, like you see here, have it summarize an entire meeting transcript into decisions, risks, and next steps. It's all about generating that solid first draft that you can then polish and make your own.
And for all my fellow creators out there, this is where you can seriously speed up your workflow. Instead of just staring at a blank screen, you can ask it to generate 12 high-retention YouTube titles for a beginner video. You can paste in a weak opening and say, rewrite this hook to be clearer and more urgent. You can even use it to plan out an entire content series. It's just a ridiculously powerful creative assistant. So let's just quickly recap the benefits here. When you write better prompts, you're not just getting more words back. You are systematically improving 5 really key things: the clarity of the explanation, the relevance of the answer to what you actually need, the structure of the information, the tone it's delivered in, and, most importantly, its overall usefulness. All right, let's move on to our next section, avoiding common mistakes. It's really important to see these not as failures, but as super common issues that are actually incredibly easy to fix once you know what you're looking for. Think of this as a quick checklist for your own habits. Are your prompts too vague? Are you forgetting to specify an audience? A really big one. Are you asking for a specific format? Or maybe you're trying to stuff way too many goals into just one prompt. And probably the most common mistake of all, just stopping after that very first answer. And this brings us to a really empowering idea. Weak results often come from weak instructions, not from the model alone. You know what that means? It means you are in control. The quality of what you get out is directly tied to the quality of what you put in. This leads us perfectly into our final and maybe most critical section, how to review and refine. Look, this is not an optional step. This is the part of the process that separates casual use from professional, reliable work. And let's be super clear about this. Good prompting raises the odds of a useful answer. It does not and it cannot guarantee truth. The AI can still make things up or give you incomplete information, even if you give it a perfect prompt. That's why your own judgment is still the most important part of this whole equation. So how do you apply that judgment? Easy. Use this checklist before you trust any AI output. Is the answer actually relevant to my question? Does it fit the audience I wanted? Is it clear and easy to read? Is it complete enough for my needs? And the big one, is it accurate enough, or do I need to go and verify this somewhere else? This simple check is your quality control. And what happens if an answer fails that check? Don't just delete it and start all over again. No way. Instead, use these little revision prompts to rescue an average answer. You can just ask it to be clearer, or put this in a table. You can say, shorten this, or hey, expand on that point. These follow-up prompts are like your repair kit.
So, what's the big picture here? It's this. The smartest use of prompting is selective, not blind. It works best for things like drafting, brainstorming, summarizing, tasks where the cost of an error is pretty low and the speed advantage is really high. You just have to be strategic about it.
So today, we went from single prompts all the way to entire workflows. In part 3, we're taking the final step. We're going to move beyond just using AI to actually building with it, creating our own custom AI-powered systems. The true power is about to be unlocked. We'll see you there.
Upgrade your AI skills. We're going to move past just asking simple questions and really learn how to use advanced prompting to turn that AI tool of yours from a basic answer machine into a powerful thinking assistant. Let's get right into it. You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You ask what seems like a perfectly clear question, and what you get back is, well, it's vague, it's generic, or it's just not quite what you needed. It is super frustrating. But the good news is, this is almost always a solvable problem. So here's where the big difference lies. You see, a lot of users get stuck in this loop. They ask one question and they just hope for one perfect answer. But advanced users, they think differently. They use a structured workflow. They get a first draft, they diagnose what's missing, and then they refine the output. This is the fundamental shift in thinking we're going to master today. And here's our game plan to get you there. We'll kick things off by balancing speed with safety. Then we'll dive into building multi-step prompts. After that, we'll learn exactly how to fix weak outputs, see it all in action with real-world examples, and adopt what I call the thinking assistant mindset. And finally, we'll recap why this is a real skill, not just a bunch of clever tricks. First up, let's talk about maybe the most important judgment call you can make when using these tools. Knowing when to floor it and move fast, and when to pump the brakes and check the facts. So on one hand, you've got your low-risk, flexible tasks. Think about drafting emails, summarizing your own notes, or just brainstorming ideas. This is where the AI's speed is a massive, massive advantage. But on the other hand, you've got the high-risk tasks. And this is anything involving, say, medical advice, legal claims, specific financial data. For these, verification isn't just a good idea, it is absolutely non-negotiable. And this just hits the point home perfectly. Even the best, most detailed prompt you can write doesn't eliminate the need for your own judgment. Just because something sounds helpful doesn't mean it's true. Speed is incredibly powerful, but it never, ever replaces the need for verification when the stakes are high. All right, so how do we handle those really big, complex tasks? Well, the secret isn't trying to write one giant, perfect prompt. It's actually all about breaking things down into smaller steps. This 4-step process right here, this is your new best friend. First, you define your actual goal. What do you really want to achieve? Second, you ask the AI to build a first draft. Third, and this is key, you diagnose the gaps. Is it missing clarity? Does it need more detail? A better structure? And finally, step 4, you refine that answer with very targeted follow-up requests. And this visual shows exactly how that workflow completely changes the game. See, you're no longer just asking a question, you're actually guiding the AI through a whole creation process. You become the director. This turns the model into a revisable assistant, not a one-shot machine, which is exactly how advanced users get such great results, time after time. So what does a really strong instruction even look like? Well, a great prompt has a clear anatomy. You give the AI a role, like act as an expert marketer. You define the task and give it context, like write 3 headlines for a new coffee brand. You add constraints, like make them under 10 words. And you request a specific format, maybe put them in a numbered list. The power comes from clear direction, not from some kind of magic words. But what happens when the output is still kind of weak? The answer is to repair, not restart. Let's look at how to do that intelligently. This is so important to remember. AI output can sound incredibly fluent and confident, even when it's completely off base or irrelevant. Think of that fluent wording as style, not as proof of substance. A weak output is usually just a symptom of a weak prompt. So use this checklist. Is it actually solving the task I set? Is it written for the right audience? And does it contain anything I need to go and verify? And here is your repair toolkit. If an answer is too generic, you add more context and ask it to try again. If it's way too long, you ask for a top 5 list or a simple table. If it's unclear, you ask for a simpler explanation or a concrete example. The key takeaway here is do not settle for the first answer. You refine, you review, and you improve. Okay, we've covered a lot of theory. Now let's get practical and see how these advanced skills apply to real, everyday tasks. We're going to look at 3 key areas where these workflows can give you an immediate advantage: getting ahead in your studies, leveling up your communication at work, and scaling your content creation. Just look at these examples. For students, you can turn a mountain of dense lecture notes into clear summaries and even practice quizzes. For professionals, you can take messy meeting notes and instantly organize them into clear action items. Or you can draft an email and then ask the AI to refine the tone to be more formal for an executive. In every single case, smart users guide the model. Now, this all leads us to a much bigger point. Using these tools effectively isn't just about tactics. It's about adopting the right mindset. And this right here is the core idea of this entire explainer. Stop treating the AI like a slot machine, where you just pull a lever and hope for the best. Start treating it like a thinking assistant that you actively manage. You're the one who guides, evaluates, directs, and refines. The goal is to use AI to strengthen your own thinking, not to replace your judgment. This whole mindset really rests on 3 simple pillars: intention, which means you start with a real goal and you give clear instructions; iteration, you break large tasks into smaller steps and you use revision to get better results; and finally, judgment. You treat fluency as just style, not proof, and you always verify when it matters. So, let's bring it all together. What are the biggest, most important lessons you should walk away with today? If you only remember 3 things from this, make it these. First, always start with a clear goal. Second, don't ever be afraid to break down your complex tasks into smaller, more manageable steps. And finally, remember that the real power comes from that process of refining, reviewing, and constantly improving the output that you get. Mastering the skill is what turns AI from something that's just kind of interesting into something that is truly practical, clear, and powerful in your daily life. If this helped you, make sure to subscribe because we have a lot more to share. Because at the end of the day, it really is that simple. Better prompting creates better outcomes. It's a skill that strengthens your thinking, and it's a skill you can start building right now. Thanks for joining.